May peace and blessings be upon you all. Hi guys, this is Shahadat, and today I'm going to make a little review of this lecture or this event where Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudevji tried to share some of his wisdom with the people. It was in the University of Michigan in the Ross Business School, and let's first listen to the question, understand it, and then go ahead and see how Sadhguru tries to respond to it. Okay, so let's start.
Truly honored and privileged to have you here with us today. We'd like to start the Youth and Truth conversation with actually a conversation we had right outside a couple of minutes ago. And that would be that in the past couple of years, we've seen that change is coming in multiple forms, be it in education, be it in the job opportunities, be it in culture. Earlier, it would take about 20 to 30 years for us to realize and see this change, but today it's happening at a much faster rate. How would you suggest, or how do you think we as the youth should adapt to change like this and be prepared for it?
So before going forward, just to make sure that we understand the problem, in this day and age, the changes are coming much quicker. Ideas are spreading at a much higher rate and speed. And we understand why that is, because we've got internet. Internet is allowing people from all parts of the world to come closer. The world has become like a little village now. Even though there are 7 billion people, but we can reach any country, any society, any people pretty much sitting at our home, and in a very short time, which was not possible in the past. So in the past, when changes were to be implemented, because of the technological flaw, it took quite a long time to implement them. And so people who were preparing themselves to deal with these changes, they had a bit of longer time to deal with them. But nowadays, we don't have that much time. So obviously, the solution basically is to learn faster and be prepared to learn all the time, and not be too stressed about it. I mean, that's the solutions I can see, because if changes are coming, and if that's the norm, if that's the normal thing, we have to just adapt to it. But anyway, the question was about how we can adapt. So basically, what can we do to deal with these upcoming changes and in a quick and efficient way? But let's see what Sadhguru's response is.
Well, I know I'm in a university, so what I speak is not against it, but there's something, as you said, change is coming much faster. So particularly educational institutions, whether it's school or college or universities, because largely till now, education has been a way of constructing a mindset. Depending upon where you study, everybody develops a certain kind of mindset. A set mind is a disaster.
And a set mind is a disaster. Not always. Not always. And depending on what you're trying to learn and what you are preparing to be, you probably need a mindset. And if you cannot develop a particular mindset in some professions, you will not be able to be successful. So the way he is saying mindset, as if mindset is a bad thing, I don't think that is true. And hopefully you will be able to understand that as well. But yeah, mindset, if it is not a useful mindset and somebody is not willing to change the mindset, that is a bad thing. Yes, I agree. But mindset as it is not a bad thing, because depending on what you do, mindset can be really useful. So
Maybe it is set for a particular purpose and it may serve that purpose.
Yeah.
As you said, people are thinking education means employment. Education is not about employment. Employment is about survival. Education is about enhancement of the human being.
So what do you learn then? What is learning? So enhancing human being, I focus on learning how to do yoga, and then I go and apply for a job that is for an engineer. I try to solve a problem that is an engineering problem, and I'll just be able to sort it out. I will just know the equations. I'll just know how to do the calculations, because I'm an enhanced human being now. Really?
A time is coming where this will shift in the direction I'm speaking, very shortly probably, depending upon the speed of technological evolution. The speed of change in education has to happen. Well, all of you everywhere these days are talking about machine learning or artificial intelligence. I must tell you, my first experience of knowing that machines can do something like this. I was 13 years of age. It's not like today's 13-year-old who's got already discarded 3 different, models of cell phone or iPad and things like that. At the age of 13, for the first time, I saw a flatbed calculator. Okay. Those days, there were only 2 companies making it. At least there were only 2 available in India. Was Sony and Panasonic. Sony considered very expensive because it was 125 rupees. That means $1.9. Panasonic, you could bargain it down to 90 rupees. So everybody bought Panasonic. So somebody brought this to school and they just did tuk 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 into tuk 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 tuk. I said, immediately my first thought was, why the hell are they torturing me in the math class? Here is a solution. And immediately my mind went into, why don't they have a machine like this for science and physics and chemistry and history and all the nonsense that they're torturing me with every day?
Just a quick comment. Hopefully you can see how he's conflating the idea of machine learning with calculators' ability to do the calculations quickly based on a software that is written by a human being, and all the calculator is doing is executing the steps that a human being told or interpreted. The human being actually found a way to get the calculator to follow those steps in a much faster way. The numbers that we input, 10, 3, 5, whatever it is, whatever number we type in has no meaning to the calculator. The operations that we press, multiply, divide, add, subtract, the calculator doesn't care. Calculator doesn't understand. But what we have, human beings, have done is we have written a program that says, if this button is pressed, follow these steps. So the calculator is just taking these 2 numbers, and then whatever button was pressed, based on that, it followed a particular path and a set of instructions, and then finally coming up with a result. It doesn't even understand the result. The number that we see on the calculator screen, that is a representation made by a human being. The calculator just doesn't understand anything other than high voltage and low voltage, 0 volt and 5 volt. And human beings, we have come up with ways of interpreting those voltages into a human understandable format. So the calculator actually didn't learn anything. It cannot learn. When you talk about machine learning, that is a more recent term, where we are telling, again, as human beings, we have inputted a set of instructions to allow our computers to identify patterns in a much efficient way. And we have implemented a way based on how it identified something in the past, because it has huge storage, it can remember that. And next time, if it sees anything similar to that, it can make the decision much quickly. But as I said, decision, again, the decision is sometimes going to be like yes or no kind of decision. It's basically electrical pulses, electrical signals, nothing else. Based on the only thing with computers is they can process information much faster, and that's why we are depositing our intelligence, and we have come up with ways of actually doing that. in the computer so that the computer can process this huge data set much faster, much quicker, because it would take much longer for us human beings to do those processings. So even the machine learning is not actually about learning. It is not that the machine actually learned anything. If you turn the power off of the machine, everything is gone. You turn the power on, operating system loads, you run your program. Depending on how the program operates, some of the things that it learned before, either they are there because they were stored in a readable format, so it was stored in a memory, or if they were not, which was part of the software that was written, if they were not, then the whole thing has got to be executed again. It has got to be learned again, which is completely different than what we mean by learning as a human language, right?
After nearly 50 years or more, now that dream is becoming real. In the next 10 years, children can see there is a machine which knows more history, more physics, more chemistry than your professors and teachers.
Whoa.
This is a great time.
That's a massive statement. Your device, electronic device, will know more than your professor. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? The device has capacity to store information, and it is just storing, as we know, binary data, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, things like those. This data is absolutely meaningless to the computer. The computer doesn't understand anything that is stored in here. As human beings, we have softwares to read this data, and we have given the software instructions as to how to process this data, and it does the processing quickly. That's the only thing it can do. It can do the processing quickly. It does the processing quickly, and based on that we get a result. That result makes sense to us as human beings, not to the computer. So a professor who obviously is learning as a human being, he learned things, he identifies patterns, he comes up with new ideas. Computer doesn't do that at all. Computer doesn't do that at all. So this concept of learning is not learning for human beings. This is a totally different thing. And obviously Sadhguru didn't look into it. He hasn't studied the subject, so he doesn't know what's the difference. He just had this word learning, and he thought, got it, learning. And learning to knowing, everything is together. He has just put them together. You know, if you don't know enough about a subject matter, you will do this sort of crazy things.
Because till now, in the name of education, we have been deceiving ourselves and everybody that memory is intelligence.
He was, not us. We didn't think memory was intelligence. Have you? We can clearly identify what is memory and what is intelligence. When we use memory, when we use intelligence. Intelligence can use memory sometimes, experience of the past, to make decisions. But memory cannot do anything because it's a thing of the past. It just cannot do anything. It's our intelligence, ability of learning, analytical abilities. Those are the faculties which can use the information in the memory and help us to process further information, more experiences, deal with the real world. Hope you can see that.
This is not just in the university, it's gone in the name of religion, it's gone in the name of scholarship, it's gone in the name of various things. Essentially all this means is, somebody got to read a book a few years ahead of you and suddenly he's a superhuman being. This will die soon, and I'm very glad, because now human intelligence will become valuable. No.
What does it mean to read a book? What does it mean to read a book? There are letters written in the book. So if we just scan a book in a computer, does that mean the ideas presented in the book, the knowledge shared by somebody who wrote that book, the computer is just understanding that? These letters have got no meaning to the computers. We read books. Reading books, we have access to knowledge of somebody who worked on the same subject in the past. And that gives us a broader vision of what questions, what aspects were investigated already, what needs further investigation, what the problems were. And these are all knowing. So we're just not reading a book. Somebody becomes a superhuman being after reading a book because they have understood the concepts, and now they are equipped with more tools to make better decisions in a situation, in a subject matter, because they read the book. So, what does it mean?
Now human consciousness will become very valuable. How you are becomes more valuable than what you stack up in your head. Because the small chip will know more than, your phone can do 10 PhDs a day.
That's a massively ridiculous statement. A phone, a memory card of this size, can store thousands of PhD reports, but it doesn't understand them. Your phone cannot do a PhD. The phone can store a report of a PhD done by a human being, but the phone itself cannot do the PhD. It cannot do the research. It cannot delve into the problem, think of a solution, think about the pros and cons, and decide which will be better, which will be useful. A phone has no way of doing that. It will never do that. It will never come up with, I've got a brilliant idea. Instead of doing this, let me do it this way, and that'll solve the problem quicker. Unless human beings train the phones to do something like that, and still they will be very limited. They will be limited to what human beings have taught them to do. That's it. They will not be able to imagine solutions. So hopefully you can see why I think this is an absolutely ridiculous statement. Crazy, stupid, ridiculous statement.
Yes, because that much can be stored. So we are mistaking memory to be knowing or intelligence. So time is coming where human intelligence will be of greater significance, not memory. So education has to transform itself in this direction. So what this means is we are moving from mindsets to consciousness. Consciousness means it's not a fixed thing. It is not just flexible, it has no shape and form. That's where human beings need to go. Educational institutions should take that step first, because for probably last 300 years we've been busy manufacturing mindsets.
Consciousness is this nice thing. How does that help in our job market? If you are in a specific industry, you're trying to solve a specific problem, engineering problem, you're trying to solve a biological problem, you're trying to look into a cell, you're trying to do quantum physics. How is just looking into yourself, your consciousness, help you with that? You need to learn that. You need to learn technologies related to that. I mean, he's saying it, and everybody's sitting there swallowing it. It just makes me so frustrated.
Example, because we're talking about India here, I think. Yeah. In India, still largely the education was designed by Her Majesty's Service, more East India Company, I would say. This education was designed in such a way where the cornerstone of education is obedience, not intelligence. I want you to get this straight. Obedience is the cornerstone of education process. If obedience is the cornerstone of education, this is a recipe for slavery. This is the trick of an occupying force. But we are still continuing that form of education for a variety of reasons, whatever reasons. So change is compulsory. Change is not an option. Those who don't change will fall on the wayside. Will we allow change to happen in a haphazard way, torturing people, leaving a lot of people out of it? Or will we do it in a planned, focused way and we execute change?
We understand that change needs to happen. Somebody else understood it. And so changes are coming. And changes are coming much quicker, much faster than they used to be in the past. So don't tell me the change is coming or I have to execute change. I understand that. My problem is how do I equip myself to deal with these changes that are coming, the things that are being thrown at me. How do we deal with them?
Will we execute change by design or by default? This is a big question in front of us. I hope as a generation of people we have the sense to execute change by design, not by default.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did I say something wrong?
And that last reaction was actually priceless, because he was talking totally something that was not asked. The question was here and his answer was here. So what happened is the sister got totally confused. When he stopped and looked at her, she was like, is that it? And obviously he identified that as well. Sadhguru identified that she was a little bit not sure what to do. So his comment was, did I say something wrong? Or was it, did I do something, whatever that was. So she understood. She didn't get the answer she asked, the answer to the question that she asked. And it is, you guys, you listen to him, you watch him, and he gives all this rubbish, and you being educated people. I mean, he hasn't attended his university classes regularly. He was going up and down the country. He was sitting under a mango tree. I understand he hasn't been through the process of actually learning. So he has all sorts of crazy idea about what learning is, what knowledge is. He's excused because, well, he didn't learn. But you guys are learned, right? You have been through education. You are enlightened. Why do you just swallow this nonsense wholesale? He says, your phone can do 10 PhDs a day, and you're like, of course, Sadhguru said it, must be true. Are you guys crazy? Well, let me know if my analysis is wrong in any way. If what I'm understanding is wrong, leave a comment and let me know. And until next time, take care, guys.